Another segment on RFL, another New York politician with serious trouble with the feds. Staten Island Republican Congressman Michael Grimm surrendered to officials today, hit with a 20-count indictment on mail and wire fraud, filing false tax returns, healthcare fraud, hiring undocumented workers, perjury, and obstruction. The U.S. attorney slammed Grimm, saying he stole $1 million from his health food restaurant. Then when he left, she says he educated others on how to do the same.
We're going to fight tooth and nail until I am fully exonerated. And this political witch hunt was designed to do a couple of things, but first and foremost, assassinate my character and remove me from office. I know I'm a moral man, a man of integrity, and I also know that I have a lot more service and leadership to provide this country. And that's exactly what I intend to do.
Grimm pleaded not guilty and was released on $400,000 bond. He also has to surrender his passport and his firearm. The congressman could face decades potentially behind bars if convicted and given maximum sentences. And Congressman, you had your fair share of fellow members of your party in Congress when scandal hit. What do you think should happen here?
Well, I think that Speaker Boehner will sit down with him and say, you need to resign. You will be a distraction to our efforts to maintain the majority. I would be very surprised if he doesn't.
Guys, what do you think?
And I mean, the timeline issue has been the big question that Republicans have been raising. The fact that this was done after the filing deadline. So regardless, he remains on the ballot. Even if he resigns, he remains on the ballot. And some people are saying, and I agree with you, Boehner should do that. That Boehner may not have the strength at this point in the party to ask him to resign and may let the legal process.
It's not about strength. It's other members expecting the speaker to step in. He's done it before. He does not tolerate this kind of stuff.
And then what do the Republicans do about the 11th district? They just give it over to Recchia?
Well, that's the question. As you mentioned, the filing deadline has already passed. There are always ways around these things. If he resigns, there would be a special election, and that's one way around it. Another way would be, let's say, on the conservative line.
Although Mike Long said he's still supporting him, at least over the weekend.
You know, the last time this happened was with Vito Fossella, which was 2008 when he had the DUI incident and the second family that was found. He stayed on the ballot. He lost. A Democrat won the seat, Mike McMahon, for the first time in nobody remembers how long in Staten Island and in that section of Brooklyn. Dominic, how big a risk do you think this is for the Republican Party if he's the standard bearer in that district?
I just don't see how the congressman can survive. So to discuss him, whether he's on the ballot or not, and it appears he will be, I just don't see how he's going to survive. I mean, he's under criminal indictment. It looks like, I mean, I don't want to prejudge.
His contributions are going to dry up.
They're going to dry. The money's going to dry up.
People aren't going to go to his events.
The feds have almost an airtight case against him. He's allegedly cooking the books from the Manhattan business with 2 sets of books. He's done.
And he's got fundraising problems.
It's over.
There's another component to Grimm with all of this, too, which is sort of the tough guy image.
Right, and he has a former FBI agent.
Former FBI agent, but also you can almost see it when you talk to him. You almost get a sense of it. We'll show the clip again from his interview with New York One at the State of the Union address, where he threatened to break the reporter in 2, and then like a little boy, I believe the quote was, and then throw him off the rotunda of the balcony there there you see it. That's from the State of the Union. I love this clip because in the background you can see me on the other side of the rotunda looking over like, hey, let's get him on camera, but we couldn't do it. It's how much does that? Do chickens come home to roost? And we've talked about this with Chris Christie and with other politicians.
This is a huge distraction for Republicans. Democrats know how to jump in, as do Republicans when the other parties got troubles, and he will be asked to resign, and I would be amazed if he doesn't resign.
You know, he may be a tough guy and all, and a former G-man, and FBI and so on. Great, fantastic. Criminal indictments have a way of bringing about the reality, the handwriting on the wall. He's done.
Staff will quit.
Staff is going to quit. Nobody's going to work for him. The money was already drying up. It's definitely going to dry up now. So how does he compete to run for re-election? He's done.
Do you think it makes a difference if the person under indictment or under investigation is a nice guy and is generally perceived as being a nice guy? I mean, I flashed through all of the scandal politicians that I can think of off the top of my head, including Spitzer and Weiner and Christie, and they all have this one common theme of being kind of jerks in a lot of different ways. Is that part of this? Or do you think it's easier for a politician who's considered or viewed more favorably or viewed more affably
Well, I
to stay
think
on?
if you are, liked, and we've talked about this here before, within your party, you may get a little bit more support from your party members.
A little
but
bit.
This, I don't know if it can save you from, 20-count felony indictment. But my shock today was that the indictment didn't have to do with the 2010 fundraising campaign,
Right.
which is where this all started from. Now we're back to the Manhattan restaurant, and there's other people who are saying another shoe could drop. He could be facing more counts. And the sad part of this is a district where these constituents has been for years dealing with this kind of shenanigans. This guy has been a disaster for them.
I think of these folks as pretty middle class, and they like their members of Congress to pay taxes.
In fairness, Mr. Spitzer was never under criminal indictment, so let's just point that out. The feds never charged him.
He did cut a deal when
Well,
he walked away as governor.
but the feds didn't charge him with anything. But Grimm, when you're a nice guy, it might buy you a little bit of goodwill, a little bit. But guess what? When the media smells blood, it's done.
Last question, because we have no time for this, but Vito Fossella has been somewhat positioning himself, trying to be more public in the public spotlight again. I think he was trying to be the just-in-case guy. Is there any chance that he's the, in case of emergency, break glass guy?
I don't see him as done. I see Fossella returning eventually. He's someone that was well-liked, despite the personal situation. And the congressman should have answered this question.
He was a very likable guy, and he was competent. Obviously, he made some huge mistakes.
And had they gotten him on the ballot for this time, the Republicans could have held this seat. It looks like they may not now, because they were considering him for this one.
There may be a special. Are you saying if he's in the special, then he wouldn't be allowed to?
Well, only if he resigns. I mean, there would be a special.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it will take, but within the month, within the next 4 weeks, I think he's going to resign.
The Cook Political Report moved the seat to Leans Democratic today. This is a long-time
Recchia,
Republican
who
seat.
shouldn't likely win this seat, he lives in Brooklyn.
All right, we're going to take a break
Which is
here on
part of the district, but it's not the major part.
We're going to take a break on RFL. When we come back, gun supporters on the attack, and they're going after an innovator who helped design and market the nation's first smart gun. She says she's been getting death threats. Why pro-gun activists are so upset over a gun designed to help curb deadly accidents and deliberate attacks. We'll get into that next.